Okay, so in the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, I have fallen in love with carving these little miniature heads, right? These little tiny characters. Of course, I made this Christmas tree, and somebody in the comments said, Alec, if you're making a Christmas tree, you need to make some tiny little presents to go underneath. And so I thought about it, and I was like, he ain't the boss of me. Until I realized that's actually an awesome idea and a super easy project for somebody who did the little Christmas tree. So I've got all these little scraps, pieces of wood. Oh, and yeah, let's do it. So I've got all these little half-inch blocks that are not really blocks yet, but that's why we're here at the bandsaw. Now you could do this with a knife. You don't need to have a bandsaw for these tiny little squares. In fact, it's kind of lazy that I'm using the bandsaw for something so tiny as these little pieces, but I guess that's nothing new for me. So I'm gonna rip these out on the bandsaw and yeah, show you what they look like. 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch squares. I'd also like to make a couple of boxes, or at least one box, gift box that's a little longer than the others, a little more, I don't know, just different, varied. So I'm gonna cut out a little, probably 1 inch by 1/2 inch piece here. And if you haven't already checked it out, there's a link in the description for my online carving school. That gives you a lot more in-depth information on how to make a lot of the carvings that I make, like this one. So we get deep in the weeds of realism in the school. There's many other projects, male, female, old, and young. So if you're interested in carving and want to learn more about the realistic face, check that out. Back to your featured presentation. And excuse me, I've got these 3 little guys trimmed up. So I'm going to start by just kind of taking the wonkiness out of these. Now, they're not perfectly square. I wasn't super paranoid about making them perfect, especially being that the bandsaw is such a scary tool, and avoiding the use of the bandsaw is one of my favorite things. So I wanted to just get it done quickly. The biggest thing you'll run into as a beginner with tiny little Christmas presents is, well, they're so small that there's a good chance that you're going to cut your fingers off. No, just kidding. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but there is a decent chance that you'll cut yourself if you're not wearing a carving glove. So get yourself a carving glove if you don't already have one. And if you do have one and you aren't using it, tisk tisk, right? If you're saying, well, why aren't you using a carving glove, Alec? I will tell you, I have been carving for 16 years, right? I've been working with sharp tools, making my living, paying my mortgage with knives, chisels, gouges, and all these tools. So I have some experience with this. Again, that's not to say that I'm a pro wood carving whittler. I am not as much a whittler. Whittling usually refers to people that just use a knife. So that being said, if you want to learn from real pros, please check out Doug Linker. Please check out Gene Messer. There's a whole host of other people out there on YouTube who are much more professional and can show you probably some much better technique than I. So if you're looking, if you're looking for something more polished, go to them. But I am what you call your newcomer, or your green newcomer into whittling. I've not done a whole ton of it. Anyway, so what I'm just doing here is cutting off the saw marks. So I really don't want those to show. I want to cut them all off from the bandsaw. So I'm just going through, and I'm trying very delicately to make adjustments to this thing without removing bulk. And it actually ends up being harder than I thought. Another safety precaution, if you're kind of new to whittling, it would really benefit from a carver's thumb guard. And what that does is just protects you from the path of your blade if you're doing a paring cut or a pulling cut toward your hand. So those are just some recommendations. Anyway, as I said, I'm just trying to get rid of these saw marks and do my best not to cut myself, because these are some tiny little gifts. If I had any suggestion for you at all, I would start with a larger tree so that your gifts don't have to be so tiny. Look at the size of this tree. It only makes sense that the gifts be 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cubes sitting there. So anyway, is what it is. We'll get over it. You can make them 1 inch by 1 inch. You're a lot less likely to cut yourself, and it's definitely going to be a nicer project to work. I guess while I'm on that subject, I should tell you exactly the tools that I'm using today. Of course, I have my 1.5 inch Helvey. This is a 1/2 inch thick blade, meaning from here to here, width-wise. Not thick as in here to here. I don't know those dimensions, but I don't know where you can get these, so don't ask me. Mine was purchased from a garage sale. I'm sure that you can go, if you search Helvey online, you can order from them. You might have to wait a little while. A ruler, just your basic metal ruler, and of course a pencil that seems to have been in some sort of super glue related accident. Anyway, I'm going to start by taking my pencil and just drawing some little ribbons, right? Because that's the main thing that's going to be kind of differentiating this from a normal box, is just the ribbon, right? So let's do that. Let's draw the ribbon. Just 2 lines parallel to each other, and that crisscross, right? And we're going to go over the whole thing like that. So I'm going to go over the entire thing on one side, like so. And then this guy is going to sit over top the others. So then I'll draw, I'll draw this one. Okay. And just extend these over. All right, now I've got some little bits and lines there that I can follow with my knife. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my practice in of relief and stop cuts. So I want to decide what the top of my gift is, right? And the top of my gift is going to be here. That's what I've decided. I just picked a side. And with very light pressure, because this is such a small cube, it's bound to split on you. I'm going to take and apply my knife, just the tip of it, like so, right? And then once I've done that, I'm going to go in very delicately and create a little indication of that ribbon standing out. All right, so you want to make sure the tip of your knife is super sharp, otherwise you're bound to cut yourself. And again, if you're not wearing a carving glove, you're a silly goose. In fact, look, I just barely nicked myself while we were talking. So it's very easy to do so. Wear that carving glove, right? I'm just a goofy goober. That's why I'm not using mine. All right. Light pressure, rocking back and forth. Boom. This would be a great application for a detail knife as well. If you're not comfortable using such a large knife, the reason I just cut myself is because I'm using a tiny, or a pretty large knife for such a small project. And also, my destination cut was not properly grounded. All right, now I'm going to go around this side here. Teeny tiny little present. You gotta keep these away from your cat and your dog because they're gonna think it's snack time. Okay, now I'm gonna take, you'll see I'm taking this band and I'm actually tucking it underneath this top one just by stopping at this other band, right? So stopping here at this band, and then I'm gonna come in, very lightly rocking, not a lot of pressure, The problem is if I put a lot of pressure on here, there's my stop cut. If I put a lot of pressure on here and I slip up, it's going to go right into my thumb, all right, and it's going to cut me. Actually, I just barely nicked myself earlier, but I used a little glue to shut my little tiny cut up. So I had a little splotch of blood or two on this thing. Just a lesson to you. It's so easy to slip when you're doing this. Okay. But those little bites you have to be thankful for. They're lessons. That's what my dad always used to say. It's those big bites that you want to avoid. All right. So I have done a little crisscross at the top and a little crisscross at the bottom. What I did do on this side, I've yet to do on the other, which is take this one and tuck it below this one by just bringing the level down a little bit, right? Cutting it up to there. So I'm going to do that here. I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to take this top band that goes up and down here, and I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to go alongside it, though, and make a little tiny cut. A little bit of pressure, barely any. All right, and then I'm just going to take my knife. Maybe just a little bit of a sliding motion in there to help ease it down. And just create that little ledge. See how the light's hitting that and it goes across now? Same thing over here. Little stop cut. And then a little tiny ledge. Little bit of rocking motion, get that out. And that creates this really nice little detail. And that's that. All right. Now you can come in here and just kind of soften the edges of the box, you know, so that it's not so sharp to handle. It's kind of nicer to handle. I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll just take the hard edges off of the box. And the same thing with the ribbon. Just taking a tiny bit of material off. Another safety measure is, if I can, I'd like to move the box, not the knife, because I can control that cut, that most comfortable cut, by moving the box instead of trying to find a new position that works for my hand. It's safe. Okay, just taking these little edges off. Almost there. Right. All right, do the same on the ribbon. Just take the squareness off of the ribbon. Just found a side that I missed. All right, and that's that. Now you could paint these all different kinds of colors. You could really experiment with them as you please. I'm just going to leave mine natural for now. I might experiment with it. I might experiment with painting it. And you could even get carried away here and do a ribbon. If you wanted to make it extra cutesy, do a little ribbon at the top of this. The way I'm wrapping this present is a lot more realistic to the way that I would wrap a present in real life, except, well, this one's a little neater. Okay, really quickly, I just wanted to show you what I'm doing here to make the ribbon. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I'm coming in here with my ribbon. I've got a little extra room here. Let's try it on this side, actually. This side doesn't like me as much. Excuse my closeness to the camera. All right, so I'm just removing a tiny bit of wood and coming over about 1/4 of an inch, centering that, and then just another little relief. Okay, so it's a lot like the way we created the ribbon that goes around the box, right? Just a little 1/4 inch strip across the top of that box. Well, then I did something where I took a little bit more material than I did for the original ribbon. So then I might make another pass or two, and it's probably standing up, I don't know, I'm gonna say 1/16 of an inch away from the actual box itself. Okay. Once I've done that, you can see it's getting fairly even, not too bad. Take this side down a little. I can take a little wedge out from this side of the bar, right? Let me take a little more out of here first. I'm noticing a little inconsistency. Great. Okay, so as I said, a little tiny wedge out of the side of this little bar, right? Just like so. Okay. See that? Same thing over here. All right, now we've got the little sides of our ribbon. And now I'm going to come in the middle, and about another 1/4 inch of space between the two lines, these two stop cuts I'm making, like so. A little tiny bit of pressure, not very much. Come on in there, like so, and relieve the outside part. Okay, so just a little 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch square on the inside, and just taking a little bit out of the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to take the wings, the sharp wings off of the edge of this shape out here. Just applying as little pressure as necessary, and if it's not sliding through the wood fairly easily, it's a good sign that you need to resharpen it. Okay. Alrighty. I'm going to take the square down here as well, and take a little bit out the side of these two kind of wings, or the bow, what will be the bows. Don't want to freak you out too much if you can't tell what's going on yet. It's because it's still early on. Same thing over here. Okay. Coming straight down. Focus. There we go. Straight down. And like so. Okay. See that little box is kind of standing away from the wings of this little bow. And then kind of round this out a little bit more. These little wings of the bow. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to extend this box down here as well. And here. Beautiful. All right, and that's basically how I created the wings of the bow. If I wanted to create a little present, I could also get really crazy and grab a little veiner and come in here and hollow this area out as to make the bows look a little bit more 3D and a little more thin. But you could also do the same with the tiny little V-cut coming in like so. I mean, that's just kind of harrowing though. It's so tiny. All right, same thing here. A little V-cut. Boop. Yeah. This is becoming not so beginner though, right? Because that's a kind of complicated little cut. So if you do have a tiny little veiner or a U-tool, you can pop it right in this inside corner and just get yourself a nice little ribbon. Okay. But you can see how I'm doing it with the knife. Just a little bit of a scoop motion. Excavating out a little bit. Another way of doing it, but there's that. You got your little bow. Okay, it's a little dirty. You can go in there and clean it up, but you get the picture. Your little bow. So you can add this to the top of your presents, and definitely makes them a little bit cuter. All right, so once again, we've got a 1/2 inch by about a 1/2 inch block here. What's 1 inch in width, or length, if you will. And I'm going to make a line that goes around the entire kind of outside of the block, and I'm going to make that line just about 3/8 of an inch. We can come in and measure, but I'm just guesstimating here. I can check with my tape measure if you want to fact check, which most people do, so let's see how good my instinctive measurement is. About 3/8, not bad. Alright, now the reason I did this is because I want to account for the bow. This is going to be a longer little gift, and so I'm just going to take and draw it on there, right? Might as well. So we know at least we need to cut this part out, right here and here. These needs to go away. And so I'm going to start by just kind of making a marking on either side that extends that line over, down. Cool. I'm just going to cut these kind of parts out with a little bit of a stop and relief cut. Taking it slow. It's a small block. It'd be easy to cut through the whole thing and cut yourself. So light pressure and just take little chunks at a time. So the first thing I'm doing is a little bit of a stop cut. Again, I'm not applying a ton of pressure here. I'm doing a little bit of a rocking motion. And I'm coming across and to that point. And if it doesn't come free, it means your stop cut wasn't deep enough. All right, there we go. So back and forth, just a little rock and a little roll. Simple as that. All right. And I'm going to start the same thing over here. Definitely wear a glove. I've mentioned it a couple of times in this video already, but if you don't have a glove on, or at least a thumb guard, you're really testing your luck with a piece of wood this small. It's quite dangerous to not use one. In fact, I'm about to order my wife a glove because she's seeing these cute little projects. In fact, she saw the tree, a little Christmas tree, and said, should I try one? I said, yeah, absolutely you should. But wear a glove, for Pete's sake. Don't be like me. Cut yourself. Even with my years of experience holding knives, because I haven't done as much whittling, knife-only stuff, I'm at risk of cutting myself, right? So, but especially a beginner, right, who's not used to holding sharp knives at all, should be very cautious about this whole thing. Not using a glove is risky business. All right, you can see I'm starting to edge down to that line. It kind of feels like I'm at the Lego size currently, which I think I am. Seems just a tiny bit smaller than one of those wider Lego blocks. All right, that's good enough. And now I'm going to take a little chunk out of the middle. Actually, I should do this first. I should narrow this because our bow isn't going to go across the whole top here. So I'm going to take this line here, flat against the plane we just created, rock it over. Just a little pressure, and then remove to that point. Okay, what I'm doing here is just narrowing up that bow, that's all. And again, very light pressure, rocking, and just kind of like so, shortening up that soon-to-be bow. Same thing here, kind of bridging the two little platforms that we just made, if you will. Okay, and then a little cut down. Very gentle motion here, because if I slip, I didn't want to place so much pressure on it that when it does come down into my fingers, I can't stop it, right? So, even with that cautiousness, there's still a chance I could cut myself. So be careful. All right, good. Now I'm going to take a little V section out of the center of this guy here. All right, so just as a reference, looks like about an 1/8 inch, about an 1/8 inch from the looks like a 1/4 inch from the inside. My mistake. Misreading my ruler here. All right, and then just, gosh, I mean, almost a 32nd, maybe a 16th. Yeah, 16th. About a 16th away from the inside there. All right, now that I've cut that little V channel out, hopefully you can see that clearly. Very good. I'm going to take the edges off of this little box, because it isn't a box. Its destination is a bow, which is a great reason to not worry so much about the center of your box, right, that where that V is placed. See, mine's a little off to this side, and that's okay, because I don't know if I've seen a bow that's perfectly proportional. At least not a bow done by a man. I've seen a lot of women do. I'm just kidding. I know a man can do a great job with wrapping bows. I'm just teasing. I will say, though, I should speak for myself, right? I am probably one of the worst Christmas wrappers I've ever met. Yeah, I mean, I really, if there's ever a child at a Christmas gathering, usually the wrap job is attributed to the child, right? So a lot of people will see the present that I've given them before reading the label on it and say, oh my gosh, it's so nice that little Sammy got me a gift, and then kind of shrink back in my chair and say, yeah, that's so nice of him. And I'm tempted to give him credit for it, so I don't have to own up to the fact that I wrap like a 7-year-old. Anyway, I digress. I'm just cleaning up the saw marks. I'm just trying to round this little lobe here, right? These two little lobes make the little bow. Same thing that we did in the in this other little situation here with a little present. Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. All right. So the next thing I want to do, I could actually really get detailed with this bow, but I'm keeping it pretty simple. If I wanted to, I could have the little piece that straggles off the side, and you know what? Let's get crazy. Why don't we? Why don't we get crazy with this one? Let's go a little more complicated. If you're a beginner, sorry in advance, but I'm going to take a little bit more out of the inside of one of these, right? I'll show you what I'm doing here. So 1/2 of this lobe, taking a little section out of, right? So just light pressure. And also if you had a little table to push on, you could set this down and push on that so that you're not as likely to cut yourself. You're not as likely to get yourself with the knife as it pushes down and maybe splits the wood. All right, so I've done that. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So here, I'm going to take a little section out, right? Like so. All right, so not that much more difficult than it was, right? Just some more stop cuts and relief cuts. Okay. And this is going to make the bow look a little bit more natural, a little more off center. I'm going to take the corner off of this. I want to represent the way that I wrap a present, right? And that's where the bow's crooked, the wrapping isn't quite right, the seams aren't good. So I'm going to turn this bow on its side a little. See what I'm doing here? Like so. And maybe even this one. I'll take the inside corner off of this one. There's the focus. We'll go like this. Right. They're a little bit different sizes now. They're kind of a little bit more randomized. And it looks a little bit more natural to me, at least. It looks like the way I would wrap a present. I'm okay with that. In fact, I'm happy that it represents the way I actually do a bow. Okay. All right. Now, to keep this one a little bit simpler, I'm not going to do the four kind of things that go around it. Just gonna let this be kind of an old, like a sticky bow, where you just kind of apply it on the top there, right? And that's going to give us a little bit of textural variation when we go from this one to this one. All right, so I'm just going to come in, take the saw marks off. And as I start near my thumb, I turn the piece of wood the other way so I'm not at risk of really slicing myself, like so. But if you're wearing a glove, as you should be, you're at less risk. So that's good. Okay, so I'm just cleaning up the cuts, making things smooth, getting rid of the saw marks from the bandsaw. Notice how I'm turning it around, getting on the other side of it. You know, you might not be able to hear them, but the squirrels are noisy today. They're just squawking up a storm. I don't know what's going on out there, if they're having some sort of territory wars or if they're... I just don't know. But it's chaos. They've been going for the last 2 days too, so somebody's in maybe in trouble, who knows. So I'm just going through. Just like so. Doesn't have to be perfect, just cleaning them up a little bit. Beautiful. Alright, now I'm going to clean off the bottom, and then we're pretty much there as far as our planes being cleaned off. Just round off the edges of our box, and then we're in business. We're looking pretty good. Okay, nice. I'm just going to take off the hard edges here, but just very lightly, light pressure and just a tiny bit of movement. Just the edges, just the corners. I don't want it to look round. I just want it to look a little bit less sharp. Like so. Okay, clean that up. Now, you know, I'm going to try the gouge in this case because I think it'll really help. So, oh, thanks for watching the video. And per usual, if you haven't already checked it out, in the link below, I have access to my school And if you're interested, the link will also take you to my website, and there's a free vlog there and lots of other content. But we'll see you in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I know it was pretty fun for me, aside from a couple of little bloody fingers. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with tiny little gifts. So that's that. See you guys in the next one.